The following episode of the Maui Chamber of Commerce's Business Matters was originally broadcast on April 22nd, 2025.
It's time now for Business Matters, brought to you by the Maui Chamber of Commerce. And now here's your host, the president of the Maui Chamber of Commerce, Pam Toompop. Good morning, Pam.
Hey, good morning, Gary. How are you?
I'm feeling above average today. How's that?
Well, that's better than below average.
Right.
And gives us room for improvement. So
Exactly.
Well, it's a glorious day in Pukalani today, and so glad to have you with us, and thank you for all you do to help produce the show. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. I enjoy coming in every Tuesday.
Oh, good. Well, we enjoy having you every Tuesday. Well, folks, we're so glad to have you join us as well. This is Business Matters Radio Show, and today we are going to talk with Council Member Tasha about the latest developments in the Maui County Council's budget meetings, as well as what's the latest with the STR issue and housing. And then we're going to meet with Cesar Gaxiola, Executive Director of the J. Walter Cameron Center, and discuss a little bit about what they do and their upcoming anniversary, and it's a big one. So first, let's begin. I'd like to reintroduce you to Maui County Council Member Tasha Kama. Council Member Kama has been a guest on the show before and many times for our regular listeners and represents the Kahului District. She is the presiding officer pro tempore of the Maui County Council and the chair of the Housing and Land Use Committee. She has been active in Maui County matters for over 40 years and is a founding member of the National Association of Native Leaders and Allies, known as NANCLA. Throughout her career, Tasha has focused on issues that have sought to improve the lives of not only residents of Maui County, but specifically to the Hawaiian people that have lived here for generations. Councilmember Kama is a fantastic representative that we have had the great pleasure of working with, and she has done so much to move forward housing and really address issues from a standpoint of really researching the issues and understanding all facets of them. So good morning, Tasha, and welcome to Business Matters. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Pam. I'm doing well. Thank you so very much. And thank you for inviting me to Business Matters. Appreciate that.
Oh, it's our great pleasure. Thank you. We're so honored to have you this morning. You are always a treasure trove of information.
I like that, treasure trove.
You are, and a great educator. With that, I'm going to jump right in because we have so many facets of things that we wanted to talk with you about this morning. Let's start with STRs, and some people are calling them STVRs now, and we have so many acronyms for sort of the same thing, but this is really the hottest topic right now, besides the budget. And I know so many people are eager to hear what's going on. Can you start with a little bit of background? Let's talk about what are some of the primary reasons behind the proposed short-term rental ban in Maui County?
Well, we had a housing crisis before the fire. After the fire occurred, it just exponentially exploded our housing crisis. So the thought was we couldn't build units fast enough with how long it takes us to go through the permitting process, with the length of time that it takes just to get through all the processes of just building one house. And so the mayor's idea was, well, maybe if you banned short-term rentals and converted those into long-term rentals, that we'd have more availability of housing. We need to have more stock. So his thought was, we increase the housing supply in the short term, real quick. We increase long-term rental opportunities for Maui County residents and the workforce. And then the issue of the impact that the tourist industry was having on our limited local and environmental resources, part of that would be able to mitigate that with the banning of the STRs. So that's just the background of why it came into being. How it's being implemented is now a different matter, because while the mayor had made that pronouncement, for me it was like, oh wait, what are we doing? And I didn't understand much about STRs over a year ago, and I thought, well, I better know, what is this? Who are they? Where are they? And then, I had to do a lot of research. My staff helped me. We looked at some of the old records from before, and then I decided that maybe we should do a study to figure out what are the impacts, And so that study never got off the ground because we only had, I think, one person who responded to the RFP, and that didn't go over well. And so Chair Lee decided to pull back the RFP and do an in-house, meaning she had the Office of Council Services do the study. I think the study's almost finished now. But also in the meantime, UHERO had done a couple of studies also, and we've been reading all the studies that have been coming out from them. Basically, they all have basically said the same thing. If you do this, this could happen, meaning that if you ban short-term rentals, it will have an impact on the economy, because the amount of jobs that you'll lose, the amount of revenues you will lose from CET and GET, plus how it would impact all the ancillary businesses. People come here, they stay in short-term rentals, they go grocery shopping, right? So they can cook their food in their unit. They go out to restaurants. They enjoy all of the entertainment that we have out there, and all of those losses all add up to a loss of money, loss in wages, a loss of so much, and it really hampers the economy. So that's probably the basic and the most important thing about the STRs, is that the big impact that they will have on our economy. And if we don't have the STRs, at least supporting part of the economy, who will support the economy? That means that the local people are going to have to step up, and that's who's going to end up having to lift up where the STRs are now lifting up now.
Yeah, that's a really important point. So, if we were to move forward with this and now better understanding, the overall impacts, to the economy at a time when our economy is still down, what measures are being considered to mitigate any economic losses? And also economic losses for property owners who in making the shift, who depend on that short-term rental income?
Well, we've heard lots and lots of testimony from people who were using their short-term rentals as their retirement income, right? And everybody likes to have a nest egg, and you can't blame them for that, because even us too, right? We think that Social Security is going to be our nest egg. Well, other people have thought of other ways to have a better nest egg, and now we're not even sure about Social Security anymore, right? But definitely the impacts in people's personal lives, as well as the impacts of how it's not just, and it's such a widespread issue, right? That it's just not going to impact this one family who thought this was going to be their income stream for their retirement. It impacts their families, and that impacts how they spend their money, wherever it is that they're spending it, if they're not here, right? Because a lot of these STR owners, they don't live here. They just come here for vacation, but it's available for them. And then when they do come, they don't book any bookings. But right now, the bookings are down because people are not sure, should they or should they not? And are they going to be here or are they not? Right? And we haven't taken that issue up. We'll probably take it up most likely, definitely, after budget. But I wasn't willing to take on the budget and the SDR issue all at the same time. It wouldn't be fair, not to have to give all of your attention to one issue and come up with a very good decision regarding that.
Yeah. I agree with you that these are two very weighty topics in themselves, and of course, the budget has a strict timeline, but also this has a timeline as well that we need to address given the Planning Commission moving it forward. So, totally hear what you're saying on that, and the importance of being able to fully focus on this because it is such a broad issue. And if we were to do this, and as you're looking at the budget, if as we look at this, I'm sure you're also examining the impacts these changes would have on tax revenue versus the kind of revenue that the short-term rentals are bringing in now.
Right. And it is going to impact us because this is where we get a lot of our GT and our GET from, right? This is heavy. If we lose that income, where we're going to get the income we need to be able to support all that money was being used for. So in the end, it's going to end up impacting our local people because taxes, right, is the way we raise our money to be able to pay our bills in the county. And right now, our tax rates for our local people are always very low, right? Because our taxes for those with a higher bracket income, we tax them, right? But if they're not here to tax, then who's left? You and me, right?
That's right.
So we always have to weigh things out like that because knowing that the predicament that our people are in right now, the difficulties that they're having, one of the things we keep hearing about over and over and over is the cost of rent. That rent is actually out of this world, and people at one time were only using 30% of their income. Now many people are at 51, 53% of their income just to pay the rent. So that means a paycheck and a half is going to pay rent. And if something happens to interrupt that wage earner's salary, then we're going to have more people homeless. So a lot of things that we do, we have to think long and hard and clear about how does this impact something else? What's going to happen if? And those discussions take a while, and the studies help, but the studies don't tell you what to do. They just say, if you do this, this is a possibility that could happen, right?
Right.
So you hear us said, there's a possibility that the increase in inventory, right, could steadily reduce prices and create a more attainable and reasonable housing market. But the flip side to this would be speculative buyers and the likelihood that units would not sell or rent long term, even at a more reasonable price point. So that's what they tell us, right? You can do this, but this might happen. You can do that. So as local people, we have to think about our people. We have to think about how likely are we able to see an increase of housing through the ban of short-term rentals. I think that there are some short-term rentals that can be used for housing, workforce housing, as the original intent was. I think there are some short-term rentals that could never be used for housing only because the units are too small or in a pricey area. And I think the ones that we can develop revenue from, we should leave it. And the ones that can be used as long-term housing, we should use it. But we're not going to know that until we know what housing units and how many housing units are available for families, workforce housing, and what units. So the study was supposed to include all of this information, and we haven't gotten that information, and we got to figure out how to get that information before we make these decisions. Short of going to visit every one of those structures and looking to see, yeah, okay, you would be great for housing. You wouldn't be great for housing. Leave you in short term. But so those are some of the things that at least I think about when I'm not thinking about the budget, of how to go about to ensure that we're still going to have some revenue being derived from STRs, but still at the same time be able to create inventory for our local people. Mm-hmm. And then the issue also came up about, well, the HAO fees, right? Homeowner association fees are so expensive. How do we expect our local people who are having a hard time paying just the regular rent on the outside to pay these HOA fees, if at all they're going to have to? And they have to pay them, right? Because those are your maintenance fees. And a whole bunch of other conversations that I haven't been able to have a conversation with anybody else except my staff, because I can't talk to other council members about things like this, right? Right. But I'm sure people are talking about it somewhere in Maui County. The 9 of us just aren't talking to each other yet. But those are just a few of the things that I think about on my head, in my heart, about how to make it work for everybody. How do we make it work for everybody? And of course, some people are not interested in making it work for everybody. They just want to make sure it works for me or for them. But we're elected officials, meaning that we are the representative voice of all the people of Maui. Even if you didn't vote for me, I still have to represent you.
Yeah, and you do. I want to say, from my interactions, you've always done a really good job looking at how you're fair and represent everybody in our community. And you do that through what I truly appreciate is through research and asking the questions and bringing up broader issues. And the HOA piece has come up again. As we've looked at this, as you said, there are some units that maybe they were originally built as apartments and maybe they would be sufficient. A lot of people, when we were going through the testimony, didn't understand the HOA fees or the breadth of the HOA fees to run these high-end properties that were bringing in income, because they had all these other amenities, but they don't also have a lot of parking because they're used to one visitor car per unit, so they don't have extended parking. So I've always wondered, why we haven't seen a study, and it would be a little bit tricky because you'd have to qualify people who are really searching, not just allowing people to randomly ring in just because they want to influence an issue one way or the other. But to really qualify people who are needing housing, to even get a sense of, would these units even work for them, given the parameters of a lot of these units, one of which, again, would be the higher cost of monthly maintenance fees. I remember many years ago, I had a unit in my early 20s at Harbor Lights, and the HO fees at Harbor Lights at that time used to be off the chart. And it was because back then they were saying, the reason was because we had a lot of people who had more usage of power and of the power, water, and sewer and things, because they had more people in the units than were supposed to be in the units.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So there were these issues that they were always trying to regulate. But at the time, we had one of the highest CAMs in Maui County, per square foot, when you're talking about per square foot.
Yes.
Common CAM, meaning common area maintenance, which go into, these homeowner association fees, the HOA fees. So, it's the kind of thing that, we don't even have a study of how many people would like this and would they prefer this over having a house, and I also think, as you've been working on, our housing shortage requires sort of everything in the mix. We need all levels of affordability. We need workforce housing. We should probably be looking more at some apartments as well that have opportunities to meet needs. So I think we really need a good mix. You also mentioned, and we talked a little bit about, but I don't know if there's more information to share on the effects that this would have on tourism, from both sides. Any from the UHERO studies, anything positively or negatively? You mentioned again we're going to lose. We'd lose some of those units that would hamper tourism from the stance of those people who would stay in those units for tourism, and that the trickle down effect
Right. So the New Heroes report said that the potential effects on tourism, housing, and the health of Maui County's economic environment, that's what they told us about, right? And so it indicated that the significant loss of TT, GET, and property tax revenues, which are all large contributors to our state and county budget, right? And then it also said 1,100 jobs in the industry could be lost. So I didn't hear that in any other reports, but that's huge, 1,100 jobs. And then it also said that the loss of tourist dollars is greatly going to impact our small business community that relies on tourism. So there is a big impact on the tourist industry. I mean, we felt it, right? We felt it during COVID, right? When all the hotels were empty, and even after COVID was over, just trying to climb back up and trying to get back up, right, has been difficult. And now, with the and I don't know, this whole STR thing is, so if the STRs go away, does that make the hotels happy? People have said that, said, oh, the hotel should be happy now. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this will be gleeful about people losing income, about people losing jobs. You know what I mean? But somebody's going to
I agree.
Not.
And I remember testifying very early on to the county council when we were, at the beginning of COVID, and explaining, when the investment was made by the county and by the state to do the visitor to do a visitor industry, the whole point was that this would have great leverage and spur other industries. And as you point out, right, when we talk about the trickle-down effect, it's not just the amount of tourists coming in and the amount of money the hotels receive. It's that we've leveraged that industry to build strong and amazing, distinguished restaurant industry with phenomenal local chefs who do, Pacific and Hawaiian cuisine and things that were cherished worldwide. We built an amazing retail industry as well. And over time, that industry, many of which, of course, focused early on local artists. We used to be one of the top art markets. Excuse me. Maui used to be one of the top art markets over 2 decades ago in the world because of the type of art that we spurred. And then we spurred jewelry, and we started really focusing on locally made products. And so we built that, which built our manufacturing industry to support retail. Of course, ag desperately needs the visitor industry because of the amount of produce they're generating, which also helps sustain us in other times. But if without restaurant and retail income, then ag tremendously hurts. And then, the weddings and events and activity companies, and it just trickles down, so much that when we're down on the visitor industry side, so many of our industries at the Maui Chamber and across Maui County and, are hurting. And the other side of that is, we built it to a degree that it really is unsustainable for those businesses. When the visitor industry is down, we start losing them. And when we've been seeing that, we've been seeing people move away, so then that creates worker shortages. So, and everybody's experiencing worker shortages right now.
Yes.
And then if we lose more jobs, people think, well, we'll be able to, people will just transfer over into some of those other jobs. Often what happens is they move somewhere else to the jobs they know how to do.
Exactly.
And so we are losing our local families. I hear stories, honestly, every week. I'm hearing stories now of businesses that I can't name who they are, but I'm telling you, some of these businesses are highly cherished by the local community. But when the visitor portion of the market is down, they're suffering greatly. They're struggling to try to pivot to stay here, but they're struggling.
You got to do what you got to do.
So let's talk a little bit about, we're talking about some of these impacts and again, what the trickle down effect is. What I was about to say is, that in some of this argument, one of the most poignant things that came out, and again, you and I watched, I mean, you more than me because as the housing chair, you've been so involved in this, but I've watched and sat through many, many hours as we went through this issue and council testimony and planning commission testimony. And, there's because, again, it comes back to our housing crisis and what we need to do to move forward with housing. And one of the most poignant things that came out of some of the really, unfortunately, disparaging and some of the ugly conversations, though, was a thing that I hold on to. And it was a gentleman who said, maybe if we have more housing, we'll have more aloha, right? Because we're struggling. And this is something, you and I were championing. The Chamber did a housing summit in 2017. We did another one in 2019. Coincidentally, a lot of the recommendations are the same. We know what we need to do. But here we are. And in the meantime, we have to contend with the broader issues of these issues and still look at how we address housing. So, what are there alternatives to an outright ban? Are we looking at stricter regulations or zoning changes as we move forward with addressing not only the STR issue, but our housing issue?
If you're going to do a ban on these things, it has to be clear. Like, for example, the one to do the ban would be the mayor, right? And he already said so. He sent us Bill 9. That is his ban, right?
Right.
So I've looked at it. I haven't studied it, but I've looked at it, and I have some things that's in it that I want to talk more about to my colleagues. But in the end, that would be his ban. And so we take the bill and we amend it or we move it around and we change this and change that we think would be a better bill. But in the end, the mayor's the one that's going to have to implement that bill, right? And that's how all bills work. That we develop, most of the time, we develop policy and then we pass the policy and then the administration implements that policy. And of course, they always have an opportunity to weigh in on all of these policies should they want to do that. So that is one thing when it comes to the ban on STRs. Now, when you talk about the zoning issues regarding housing, I think a lot of it comes from within itself. That a lot of the issues we've had are always about permitting. It's about the zoning code. It's about sometimes some things are pretty outdated, and we're trying to follow an outdated policy or law. And I think when things like that, what we've asked the departments to do is when you come across something that you believe is difficult to implement, or you can't figure out how to, then come and tell us. Because maybe in trying to enact a law or a policy that is almost impossible, maybe the easiest thing is to get rid of the law or the policy, because if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So why are you trying to break your back trying to do something that's not going to work? Because if it's not working for you, it's not going to work for our people. So when we take a look at, how we're going to enforce things and, what's going to happen if people are not compliant about it, those are the things that we leave up to administration. But, because our charter tells us, as council members, we are not allowed to tell the mayor what to do. But we could encourage him. We could urge him. That's why a lot of our resos come with urging the mayor or encouraging the mayor to do things, but never directing the mayor or his administration as to what could be done or what should be done. So we try to not to cross that line.
Yeah, and that's an important line, and again, helping people understand separation of duties. A lot of people really don't. They're not involved in council or administrative duties day to day. They don't know, who's who has the hat at what point, who's wearing the lead hat. But we see this all the time, and many of our laws are very antiquated.
Yes.
And so it's one of those things that, maybe simply, as you say, if it's a problem implementing something, maybe what we need to do is go back to the law and see what the law says, where council can change the law. Administration can't change the law, but council can change the law.
I'm pretty excited because Title 19 is a whole title on zoning, right? And so this has been undergoing revisions for, I think, since I got here, maybe 4 or 5 years. And I'm just waiting for that to be completed so we can see what other revisions are that possibly or potentially, I understand, could make things flow easier. I'm hoping. So I'm hoping that after 4 or 5 years of waiting, that this is going to be worth waiting for these new revisions on Title 19. I can hardly wait.
Well, so, I'm excited too because, go ahead. I'm sorry. And when we're done, go ahead.
When we're done with the budget, we're done with the SDRs, and we're done with all the other stuff, Title 19 should be done too. And as soon as it's done, we're going to hear it. We want to hear it.
Yeah, I want to encourage everybody listening. If you're in that realm, or if you're just curious, if you just care about housing, zoning is a big part of housing. But this is going to be an exciting thing to watch and listen into, because again, some of these antiquated laws are holding back some of the things that we really need to streamline and move forward. So this will be a great time to hear how that, what kind of revisions they're looking at and what the impacts of those revisions will be. So that'll be a very exciting thing. And I hope it's done when you're done with the budget. I hope we get to see it this summer. That would be tremendous. Really tremendous.
I hope so too. Looking forward to that.
Me too. Well, let's talk about, the other thing that is, very intrinsically related to, if we do an STR ban, how would enforcement be handled?
That's a good one, because enforcement falls on the side of the administration. And a lot of times, that's always been a problem, is that just trying to enforce, like even short-term rentals, right? The illegal short-term rentals, right? We always ask, well, who's enforcing it? Well, it's supposed to be the administrative side, right? Right. But they haven't been enforcing that. So you ask another question, well, now who's going to enforce this ban if we have a ban? All I can tell you is it still goes back to the same administration, or the administration. Yeah. So is it going to get better or worse, or is it going to stay the same? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Before I forget,
and again, we also hear we're short of county employees. So who would do it? How do we get it done when we've got such a shortage of employees within the county?
Yep, and we're looking into that too. That was part of our budget discussion. Is that the reason why people don't want to work for the county is the pay is so minuscule, and I know that comes right after the salary commission just gave us a raise. But what people get in terms of your entry level is all where your clerks are at and your laborers and all that. They don't get a whole lot of money because it's just the way it is. And of course we have bargaining units, HTEA, UPW, and their unions bargain, right? And they're the ones that end up negotiating on their behalf, and the wages. So the wages are like that across the entire state.
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting. Okay, well, we've got a few more minutes. Let's talk about, we have a lot to talk about on budget. Go ahead.
So I wanted to not forget, but tonight, 6 o'clock, the county chambers, we're going to have a hearing on real property taxes. So basically what it is if people want to come and give testimony on or give input on where you think the property taxes should go, we're here to listen to that tonight at 6 o'clock in the chamber. So I just want to make an announcement in case people forgot, didn't realize it, that, if you want to impact your property taxes for the next year, this is a good time to do it.
Yeah, this is a great time to do it. Okay, well, I'm glad that you said that because that's really important, and I will be doing that this evening at 6 p.m.
Oh, very good.
As we're trying to work on a proposal to widen the bans for owner-occupied, so our local residents, so because the valuations are going up, and so we want to make sure that people aren't, as valuations are arbitrarily rising, they don't move into higher tax classifications.
Yeah.
That we examine that. So that's something that we'll be ringing in on and sharing this evening. So thank you for that, and I look forward to being a part of that.
Oh, very good.
You know what, Tasha? We are out of time, but can we reschedule you soon? Because there's so much more to talk about on the budget.
Probably. Let me see. We get out of budget in about 2 or 3 weeks. By May, I think by mid-May. What are we at? Well, we're at the end of April already. Yeah, by mid-May.
We're about the 2/3 of the way in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about that. Yeah. Sometime around then. Around May, the 18th, 20th, around there.
Okay, great. I'd love to do that. I'd love to continue the conversation forward. And thank you so much for joining us today. You are awesome, and we appreciate all that you're doing for our entire community, and also to educate people on the issues and help them understand the nuances of how things work and the level of details and the broader way we need to look at things so we can take a holistic approach and make appropriate decisions for our community.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Pam. Appreciate that.
Thank you. It's our great pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. I know it's a crazy season, so every moment we got to have you, we just greatly cherish.
You're too good. You're so nice and so kind.
Aww.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll talk soon.
Yeah.
Aloha. Oh, it's always great to have Tasha on. I hope everybody learned a lot about these issues. And again, as she said on STRs, the issue will be continuing. It'll be continuing after budget. But also this morning, we are so thrilled to have Cesar Gaxiola, is the executive director of the J. Walter Cameron Center. He's going to join us. He has served in this role for 18 years there, and soon will be helping to celebrate 50 years of their service to Maui. His job, along with those he works with, is to fulfill the mission of the J. Walter Cameron Center to incubate, support, and accelerate social good in our community. Cesar, are you with us?
Yes. Hi, Pam. Good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. So great to have you on the show. I haven't gotten to talk to you for a long time.
I know. Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, glad to be back.
We're glad to have you back, and it's a very important time. So we were just talking about your great mission to incubate, support, and accelerate social good in our community. Tell us about the work that you do to accomplish those goals and help people understand what the J. Walter Cameron Center does and means to our community.
Sure. Yeah. Let me start by mentioning something that most people is not aware.
Yes.
We have so many agencies that graduated from the center, and just to mention a few, the MAC, Maui Arts and Cultural Center, they were located here for 10 years prior to being where they are now.
Ah, lovely.
Yeah, and so of course, similar to Imua Family Services, Hospice Maui, Easter Seals, Arco Maui, and many more. Yeah, so those agencies were where we are for a number of years until they were able to locate their own and build their own facilities and stuff. But that's a piece that a lot of people is not aware,
That's right, that you were the incubator that helped them grow and get them to where they are today.
Yeah, it's always excited to mention that, and then people was like, "Oh, really? I didn't know that." Yeah. So anyway, so that's one of the things, and of course now we do house 24 different agencies. Some been with us for 30, 40 years, and of course we have some new ones. They've been with us like 3, 4, 5 years, and one of the newest things that we had is in the past 6 months, we started a new program called Nahale Kupuna, which is apartments. They are in Honokawai, Kihei. We are providing affordable rental to seniors that were affected by the fires of August of 2023.
Nice.
Yeah.
And where did you get the rentals from?
So the units is through federal funding, of course, state and then county. And so working with Maui County and, of course, with the mayor and the council and the CDBG program, we're able to locate these units, and that's how we went about providing housing for all the seniors. It's just, amazing their stories. Some of them, they tell us that in the past 20 months, they have moved up to 10 times.
Wow, yeah.
Just looking for a permanent place, because they've been 2-3 months here, a month there, 2 weeks here, and then so they're happy that finally now they can be in a place where they can stay for a long time. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yes,
I love it.
It is. And then, of course, we do have, as you know, we do have the meeting facilities, which are utilized by over 100 different community organizations throughout the year for, meetings, workshops, trainings. We do house the Hawaii Blood Bank. They come 3 times every year, visit us, and to receive, large number of donations to donate blood and stuff. So you name it, you can see people here, receiving services for housing, for health, for education, for mediation services. There is a pharmacy. Of course, Huino Kolopono has so many different services with the dental, the cafe, the gym, Lomi Lomi. And then, of course, we do have some of the agencies like Pacific Cancer Foundation, Pacific Gateway, Mental Health of America, and many more.
Yeah. Lots and lots of great agencies. Yeah, and I love it because so many of the services that people need can be found in one place. As you were saying, it's really we still have we're not tenants there, but we still benefit from the J. Walter Cameron Center, and we were tenants for a while and absolutely loved it. It is a wonderful incubator for nonprofits, and again, not all of them are small nonprofits. Some of them are very larger nonprofits, or they grow to be larger as they're there, and it's a really great space. Tell us about, you've got a big anniversary coming up. Tell us about, celebrating your 50th anniversary, and tell us about what that's going to look like. What are some of the memories you're going to share, and what's in store for the anniversary?
Yeah, so that's our celebration coming together on May the 3rd. It's going to be at the Grand Wailea Resort. It's a Saturday, May the 3rd, at 5:30 p.m. And so one of the things that we did, and we're going to be showcasing there, is a video where we interview about 16 different people. From seniors, from resident agencies, from volunteers, from clients, board members, you name it. We went all across the table, if you will. And so everybody's, sharing their memories, sharing their services, and sharing about the center, over the years. And so definitely that's going to be a nice memory there, to have everything in one video.
Yeah.
We never done something of that level. We did videos in the past, but short ones, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. But this is the first one that we're doing like that. With so many stories. We also gonna be honoring Hideo Kawahara, who has been a volunteer and a board member and a donor and you name it. Hideo used to work for AMB and retire. And so we're going to be honoring for his service to the center for over 25 years. It's just amazing how much one person can provide help and assistance to nonprofit agencies, in this case to the Cameron Center. And then, of course, along with Dale, we will have Alec McBarnett. Alec McBarnett, the owner of Maui Oil. Alex, same thing. Alec has been around for over 25 years, providing support in many ways, you name it. And Alec and Hideo too. Alec and Hideo, their families went back to the beginnings of the center, with their relatives and Alec's dad and Hideo's father-in-law. They helped you, Walter, with the planning and the design of the center and all that. So we have a lot of support from many families throughout the years, helping us to continue with the memory of J. Walter and all of them, to continue to provide office space and meeting facilities and program space and continue to incubate, the many nonprofits that we could support at a time. Part of the program too is, of course, as you know, is the silent auction, and we're lucky to have so many different travel packages to Italy, to Greece, to New York, to England. You name it. I think we have like 8 to I forget how many we have in there. Great packages with the hotel, the airfare, the tours, everything. And so that is going to be, I think, definitely very attractive for the people that's going to come and join us.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Is it an online auction or a paper auction? And how do people, can the community get involved in buying tickets?
Of course, they can come and check us out at the webpage, J. Walter Cameron Center webpage. So jwcameroncenter.org. And right when you open it up is the flyer with the event, the gala, and you can click in there and go into the whole program and everything. And so definitely people can. We still have a couple of tables available, and we do have some tickets for, individuals or couples that might want to join us.
Okay, 1 minute, Pam.
Okay. Oh, all right, Cesar, we're going to have to run, but so people can go on to JW Cameron, CAMERON Center, CENTER.org. And they can join me if they want. They can buy individual tickets, or there's maybe a couple tables available, you said. So folks, if you're interested, do it now. And Cesar, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure having you. We'll have you on again after the event so we can talk about how the event went and what you're looking at moving forward for the next 50 years. But for everybody listening today, I want to say blessings and aloha for a wonderful week. Thank you for joining us. And please join us again next Tuesday morning at 7:05 right here on KAOI. Aloha.